America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody. We have the minutes from the February 4th, 2025 regular council meeting. Do they have any corrections? If not, we would entertain a motion to approve those as printed.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
No second.
Motion by Robin, second by Mike. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Minutes are approved. Any changes to the agenda? EDA did not meet, so we won't have an EDA committee report under number 7. Any other changes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the city council agenda without the EDA on there.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mike, second by Becky. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
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 Anyone opposed, state no. Agenda is approved. Guests and open forum. First up, we have Together Reaching Area Kids. Ms. Boyer and Mr. Christensen, come on up.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. We're representing an organization called TRAC, Together Reaching Area Kids. And TRAC has been an organization in our community for the past 10 years. It started off in about 2014 when we were dealing with several tragedies within our community. And we really felt the importance for us to be able to come together as a community to reach out to kids and others to help them to know that we care about them. During COVID, we kind of hit a slump in our committee. It was kind of hard during that time. And this year now we're trying to do a reset. And so our goal this year is to kind of come back together, involving the city, involving the chamber, involving the school, involving our clergy, and our entire community. And our theme this year is going to be Becker, Minnesota, creating a community of kindness. So Mrs. Boyer and I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting in December, asking for their support, and they reached out to us and they're very willing to be a part of this adventure. In January, we met with clergy members to get the clergy involved because they're an important part of our community as well. And we also met with our school board meeting this past month to share with them our vision. And so now we're asking you as City Council if you would be willing to endorse this and be a part of this vision for us for this year of creating a community of kindness.
I think, as Dale said, TRAC was truly started through tragedy. But as we've met and we've looked at the community, we're really trying to bring the community together again. Mm-hmm. We have a number of individuals that have participated. We're excited. We're providing different opportunities for people who want to be a part of the committee to be on it, because we're going to look at more virtual, so it's availability for more individuals. And I think that's really looking at bringing us all together. It's not just about the school. We've talked a lot about in other areas that we met with the chamber and the board, the school board. Really, the school is a hub of our community, and we really want to bring that out with everybody. And what can we do, having a common theme? One of the things that you received is creating a community of kindness logo design. We're asking our middle school and high school students, challenging them to create a design, and it gives you kind of a little overview, a little expectations on what we're looking at in regards to the design, and then we're going to pick 3 and bring it back to our track team, and then we're going to choose the design. Our goal is to have a logo that's created that would be in businesses throughout the community, in the churches, in different areas. So when we look at it, this theme is just, we're all in this together. And so that's one of the reasons why we would like to look at your support as well in regards to this.
And we're hoping that as a community, we can maybe be thinking of some focuses that we could have this year to promote kindness, to encourage one another, to reach out to your neighbor, to be helping everyone to be feeling a part of Becker community. We have a great community here, and we really want everybody to feel welcome. We want everybody to feel supported. And if somebody's going through a difficult time, we want them to know they can reach out to their neighbors and support one another. And so with the logo, being displayed in businesses and within our community, it's just a reminder of how we can support one another.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Boyer, Mr. Christensen?
Do you guys meet monthly or do you meet?
We've been meeting every other month,
Okay.
and as Ms. Boyer said, we have been starting to meet virtually so that it's a little bit more convenient for people who are coming from work or different places like that, so that they can join us, share their ideas, and being able to work together on that. And so hopefully as we move in this venture this year with our logo, churches, businesses, maybe the city would be willing to put this logo to promote the theme for showing a community of kindness.
You, we wouldn't do it tonight, but would you, are you looking for a resolution from the city doing something, or?
Yes, if you'd be willing to do a resolution, in the past, the city has done a theme for Kindness Week.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're willing to, we could be working together to be promoting some things throughout the year within our community, and doing a resolution to endorse those kind of pieces. It would be great to have that in the paper to see that the city is supporting the venture.
In the past, we've worked with the council and the police department in regards to just supporting the National Kindness Week. And so we'd love to look at how we can continue to build this program, maybe a kickoff on National Kindness Week and starting a new logo and moving on and moving forward. Sustainability really to look at. Our goal is that we start this logo this year at this time of year, but then creating that sustainability year after year, long after I'm gone and Mr. Christensen's gone. This is still something that our community is doing, because that's really bringing us all together. Any other questions?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
All right, still on guests and open forum. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the council tonight? Anyone else? All right, then we will move on to committee reports. Number 7, so we didn't have EDA, so Public Works Committee.
Public Works, we met last week. We definitely went over the street improvement project plan and where we're kind of at with that. We'll see more in our March, is it 4th meeting? Phil's not looking at me. To know exactly where we're at with that. Of course, we were talking about a lot of the snow and ice control policy reminders. Obviously, there's been, you know, some issues being brought to our attention, but there definitely is a policy and codes that they follow, you know, and if there are some streets that are missed or anything, I mean, absolutely do not hesitate to reach out, you know, so they can get out there and get that done.
Cleanup day.
Yes.
What, does that date set?
It's set for, hold on, I have it on my thing here. Cleanup day is gonna be May, we're already talking about the recycling day already. May 17th, and that's gonna be from 8 to 11 at Northern Metals again, so just kinda tentatively put that on your schedule, guys, cause we're gonna need some volunteers as per usual. That's really about all we talked about. We have a site grinder coming this week on the 24th to start grinding up all the materials out at the waste facility, so that will be taking place for a couple days straight. That's about it. Can you think of anything else we really?
No.
Yeah.
We talked about the snow in the cul-de-sacs. But
Right. And to just remind people, if you are on a cul-de-sac, you do not have to clean off your sidewalks. I just wanted to put that out there too, because people get very nervous when they have that pile in their yard. You're okay.
Sure, I think I read 40 cul-de-sacs we actually have.
41
in
cul-de-sacs.
We just got that, and I was like,
We had that many.
so we have that many cul-de-sacs.
I asked him what it would cost to clean them, and it's ridiculous how much it costs.
Like to haul the snow away, yeah.
Right, yeah, per event, it could be as over $20,000 on like a $16,000 average, so that would be a huge budgetary impact.
Correct.
Yep. Good information for sharing that, thank you. Personnel Committee? You want that, or you want me to take it?
I can take it.
Okay,
We just met last Friday. We just kind of went over a new maintenance coordinator job description, and we are talking about a couple new job descriptions that will be in our consent agenda tonight. And we kind of just brought out a proposed timeline for the new chief position that will be opening up at the end of the month. That's about it.
sounds good. PD City Hall project, Mr. LaRue?
The clear story windows are in over the new entrance and the spray-on insulation has been completed. The generator piping was put in yesterday when we were closed. It came through the city hall side and it'll terminate in the electric. I think it goes all the way over. Electrical and mechanical work continue and they anticipate starting sheet rock this week.
Wow, now it's moving.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 8, Board Committee and Consultant Reports, Water Truck number 2 replacement. Mr. Lisson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Becky, for reminding everybody about Recycling Day, May 17th, 8 to 11, Northern Metals, just in case you didn't catch it. Yes, so tonight I have for you an RCA and a resolution, water truck number 2 replacement. If you remember, go back to September of last year, we actually had approval to do this then. When we went back to the vendor at that point, they said Ford was no longer taking orders for more chassis, so we were disappointed, but we'll keep plowing ahead here. So we got updated quotes for the service body and chassis, the accessories, North Central, and then the snowplow. A couple of quotes in there. United Truck Body was the lowest for the snowplow. I outlined in the RCA the total cost for the truck. So after instead of trading in water truck number 2, we have a blue truck in the wastewater facility that's older. We will look at disposing of that vehicle, so that's included in the description here in the RCA. Then we'd move water truck number 2 into the wastewater fleet. We'd transfer money over from the wastewater operations budget to help cover the trade-in value that truck has. So the total cost of the vehicle after the trade-in value was $77,330.72. I outlined the individual prices there. Yeah, that's kind of the plan. Initially, we had talked about possibly keeping the blue truck and moving it into the streets, but in speaking with Corey over there, it was decided that was not in the best interest. So we'll look to send that truck to auction. Yes, we discussed this with the Public Works Committee, and the committee was fine with it coming back to council for consideration. And we did have, in the 2025 water CIP, we had $75,000 budgeted for the truck replacement. So the total came in slightly more than that, but we do have funds available in that water balance, or in that water CIP, to cover that difference. And with that, I'd be looking for a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2513, approving the replacement of water truck number 2, as outlined in the RCA, for a price not to exceed $77,330.72. And I can stand for any questions.
How much higher is it now this year?
It was about $4,000. So the truck plow itself came down about $900. The chassis went up like $2,500, and the accessories went up the difference of that $500 or so. So.
And the truck we're retiring is 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of use out of that one.
Yes, we have. Yep, it's been a good truck, but yeah. Yeah, we try to use them the best we can, as long as they're roadworthy and not too much rust, so that's good.
Any other questions for Mr. Lisson? Not, we'd entertain a motion for resolution 2513.
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution 2513, replacement of the water truck.
I'll second.
Motion by Mike, second by Becky. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed state no. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mortensen, authorization to advertise for the police chief position.
Mayor, council members, you have in front of you the RCA that details the timeline and the supporting documents to advertise for the police position. The police chief position was put on hold or paused last November. Interim chief has been filling in until his contract ends June 30th. So the timeline that we are considering also has the new police chief starting at the end of the interim police chief's contract. So if you have any questions, I would like you to entertain a motion that we start advertising February 28th to fill the position of police chief.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Shannon? All right, looking for a motion then to authorize to advertise for that?
I'll make a motion to begin advertising for the chief position.
One second.
Motion by Becky, second by Mike. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Motion carries. Advertise away. Thank you very much. Administrator and staff reports. The Central Mississippi River Partnership changed to a nonprofit. Mr. LaRue.
Mayor Colbinger, city council members, CMRP was originally established a number of years ago as a joint powers organization. And its main purpose was to examine a new river crossing between Wright County and Sherburne County. Over the last year, the member cities or the member local governments have decided to transition to a nonprofit model rather than the JPA. It will allow other businesses to join or become members. The structure is going to be very similar to the I-94 coalition that was set up from basically Maple Grove up to St. Michael and led to the efforts for all the improvements along there. So there'll be two members in the new nonprofit. There'll be the governmental partners and then the affiliate members. Only the governments that join can be the governmenters, and they still are the ones that are oversee the operation of the nonprofit. And so there's a couple of steps that the city needs to take to join the nonprofit, and they're outlined in the memo. It's adopt a resolution. That's all that this city council needs to do. Then it will go to the CMRP board. That group is required to accept the application and admit, and then we will receive an invoice for annual dues. They have been $500 the last couple of years. There was a restructuring 3 years ago, I believe, and our contribution is significantly less than it used to be, and it'll be at that $500 level going forward. The board members are there listed. The one change, really the bylaws and the articles of incorporation are almost identical as to when it was a JPA, but one change, because it's a nonprofit, there's no alternative. So the elected representative from the city is the only one who can serve on the board. And at this point, it's Mayor Colbinger. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions, but request a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 25-12 to approve our joining the new group. I should add, the JPA will remain for a limited period of time, probably middle of the year, but it'll wind down. And whatever funds are left, and there's not much left, it'll be sent over to the nonprofit.
Is this gonna be a better operation than what it was?
Right,
Yes, more flexibility.
good.
Yeah, because the JPA was only the local governments. Even if there was an interested business that wanted to see improvements, they didn't have a way to participate. Now they do.
Any other questions for Mr. LaRue about the CMRP? If not, we'd entertain a motion for Resolution 25-12.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Robin, second by Becky. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed state no. That resolution passes. Number 10, we're on to the consent agenda.
Mayor Colbinger, City Council members, items for consideration on tonight's consent agenda include the hiring and termination report as revised, approving the legislative services agreement with Lockridge, Grinnell, and Nowen, adopting Resolution 25-14, accepting a $200 donation from Kevin and Julie Krenz for the Parks CIP, Approving change order number 5 for the PD City Hall project in the amount of $20,659.08. Approve job descriptions as presented. Approve partial pay request number 2 in the amount of $144,038.05 to Northern Horizon Solway Incorporated for the wastewater treatment facility domestic screen replacement project. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have a question, I have a request. I'd like to see the job description thing sent to committee. We talked about some stuff, but we did not talk about these job descriptions. And I'd like that to go through committee before it comes to council.
Which committee? Was it personnel last week? You want to go to golf?
No, I'm talking about golf committee, because it's golf employees.
Okay. It hasn't been to golf?
No, not the way it's presented here.
Okay. Right, council can certainly do that. I would request, we do have a change job description in there for Troy Dawson. The maintenance coordinator position, I request that that one be approved though, tonight. That one seems to be kind of non-controversial. It's not part of the golf.
Okay. I'm good with that.
So Mike, you're asking for the specific job or the golf course job request to come to golf committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
And unless you got strong feelings about moving this forward, we did not discuss these at committee. We talked about jobs that people were gonna be doing, but we did not talk about job descriptions. And I would like to make sure that we're all on the same base with that before we approve it.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know what the past has been. It was at personnel on Friday. I think Josh and Shannon both played a part, did a great job. We're talking about a cost savings of in excess of $75,000. And we've been without that position, the food and beverage manager, for 3.5 months roughly now. So that's my only concern is we've been,
I don't have a concern with that at all. I guess I really don't wanna open it up in a meeting. I'd just as soon keep it, with the committee to begin with.
okay.
How about you? Beck?
I would like to talk, I mean, there was one, the administrative assistant was fine. You know what I mean,
Yeah, that one we did approve.
I would like to talk more about the new title.
Yeah, the administrative assistant could go through too, as far as I'm concerned. But the rest of them are.
Is that, you're referring to the part-time position?
Yes,
Okay. So do you want to make a motion then, Mike, on the consent agenda that removes just the one restructure supervisor position?
Is that the only one we want to do?
yeah. Yes, yeah.
Okay, I'll make that a motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the supervisor level position at the golf course. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Consent agenda is passed. My only note, I guess, in the future would be, and I don't have the background, but what role does personnel play versus the individual?
Well, it should go through committee and then go to personnel. I mean, we should decide what we want to do before we send it to personnel to handle their part of it.
Okay,
That's my thinking. That's the way I would do business.
all right. All right, on to number 11, payment of the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Motion by Robin, seconded by Becky to pay the bills. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. The bills are paid. All right, does anybody else have anything that wasn't addressed yet? I have one. I just wanted to give a shout out to Shannon Mortensen for, just so people understand, she's taken over a lot of the job description writing and some other tasks that are saving us thousands of dollars in contracted services, so your skills are welcome, and thank you very much for doing that in-house and saving us that money.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Mike, seconded by Becky. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Meeting's adjourned at 5:25.
All right, I'll get started. First, Chris is gonna go into some technical stuff, show you some mapping on the well exploration we've been doing on the 212 for reference on the other side of the river, right, east side of town. I just started talking, Robin.
I know, I'm
already
sorry.
going.
I didn't sleep well last night.
Wake me when it's
I'm really
over.
excited, I really am.
Water, Robin.
So, ahead of, the plan is to bring an SLA. Again, SLAs are used for our engineering purposes when work is outside of our master scope, our agreement that we have with SEH. So, what we're trying to do is we've identified two well opportunities over there. I think we did 23 hits over in that area. We found two test wells that we test pumped, and the data proved positive for us. We would look to potentially develop those wells and bring them into, we've got options over there. We're calling those wells 9 and 10. We could bring those into a potential well house, injection treat it just like we do the rest of the wells in the city, and then feed it right into the system through that well house. We're also looking, this SLA will also encompass water storage over there, whether it's underground, elevated storage or whatever. It's also going to explore a water treatment plant on that side of the river as well. Wells 7 and 8 that we look to put in production, if you remember, we've discovered CO2 in that water, as well as high iron and manganese. So to remove that, we can't do it through treatment, we're gonna have to do it through a full water treatment plant. So this study would actually help encompass that. Chris will go into more detail on how we could work that through, but also it's something we won't go into high detail on. We're negotiating with potential developers in our community that would help facilitate the cost, not only of this study, but the overall build out of that property as well, and the infrastructure that would go with it. So there's a lot going with that, but we wanted to kind of give you, Chris will walk through the locations right now, and then we'll kind of wrap it up and then give you kind of a time to question and answer what you'd like to see before we present this next month at the council, looking for approval on the SLA.
Thanks, Phil. So I'll just run through these pages real quick. The outline, orange outline is roughly the 212 acre site. If you look on the little bump out on the right side, there's kind of a rectangle with a little triangle on top. That area is where we would look to potentially have the well house or treatment plant, just to give you perspective on where we're at in the world. So in 2023, we did 11 test holes, and we found test well number 1. It's kind of down by the river, kind of in the southern part of that 212 acre site. The right-hand photo kind of shows where it is. And then with the idea we had one potential site, could we do a little more research out there and see if there was obviously we're looking for 2 additional wells. So we did 2024, we did a little bit more. We did 6 test holes, and then we had some room left in the budget that was approved by council, so we did 6 more just to try to, with the idea that if we are going to look to develop this property beyond just being farmland, then we want to make sure we've looked pretty deeply into it for a potential water resource before we change what's out there. And then in that process in 2024, we found test well number 2, which we, wells 9 and 10, test wells 1 and 2. And you can see in the right-hand picture, it's kind of circled. It's more in the middle of the field, more towards the center of the property altogether. So 23 total holes were drilled. We found the 2 test wells. They were both those test wells had a 24-hour pump on them. Per Trout, the company that did the work, they estimated both wells, based on those test pumps, could be 400 plus gallon per minute wells. So that, obviously we'd like to see more GPMs than less, so that was good numbers. The water quality in that we tested, so we've tested test wells 1 and 2 We did one full complete set of tests, so it covers everything you can imagine and more. Through Trout, they send it out, we got that back. Then we've done some additional testing in-house. The nitrates on the first test on hole number 2, so the one more in the middle of the property, it came back at like 15. Let's go right to the end here, I'll show you. Oops. So we can see the initial one, test hole number 2 is, I suppose you guys can't see my little mouse on there, but the third line down, November 15th of 2024, test hole number 2, we had nitrates of 14. So that was the initial sample that Trout collected. Our staff collected a sample that same, from that same one and tested it in-house, and we got 4.5. So obviously a little bit different there. 4.5 is good. 10 is our max allowed per Department of Health, so 4.5 would be probably in the ballpark of what we have in most of our other wells. A couple are lower, but that's roughly where we're at. So we've done some additional nitrate testing. You can see test hole number 2, December 26th. We did in-house testing, so staff put a pump in, pumped some water out, tested it again. They tested the sample twice. They got a 1.2 and a 1.5, so much better numbers than the initial 14. Then test hole number 2, they did again in January 7th. We see a 3.5 and a 4.2. So all the testing outside of that first one is good, is acceptable.
How can it be that much different?
I don't know, that one came up with a non-detect for iron, so I don't know if, I mean, you can send samples off and sometimes they can get goofed up or something could have happened. You take a back C sample, you screw the lid off, and if you touch the inside, you're probably gonna get a positive, even though what's in the
Are
same.
you confident with your numbers?
We're gonna do some more yet. We're gonna try to do a few more tests, either locally with Trout, we're gonna try to do iron, nitrates, and manganese, just so we get a couple more numbers, so we get a good kind of idea from the same wells if it changes. And then we'll talk about that too with engineering as we go through the process. So the idea is to get as many sample points and numbers as we can for them, so that when we have to make this decision, we have as much information as we can to do it.
And test hit 1, or well number 9 that we're calling out there, has been in that 3.6 to 4.2 the whole time.
Yep.
That's why it was like, this is really weird. How did we get a 14? Where'd that come from?
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
It seemed really, and it's showing that it's the anomaly. It's not the norm. We've not seen
Yep.
anything come back to that.
Yep.
As we continue to test it, so.
Is there a difference in how much Trout pumped it before they tested it versus what we're doing in-house? Did they take out 10,000 gallons before they tested it?
Yeah, the test pumps were 24 hours, and then they sampled at the end of the 24 hours. Staff, when they did theirs, they pumped for a couple of hours, so it was a little bit less. But I would think even after a couple hours, I would think you're starting to get some pull from around. I find that the 14 seems like it's a bit of an anomaly, almost like something, I mean, I don't know, it's why we like to get a few more numbers just to see, because, there's things that can go wrong in the lab too, where you think you got it right and it wasn't, but.
I'm assuming they don't keep samples around after they test.
We asked, they did not, yeah, so I did ask, but if you had it in the fridge, could you try it one more time and see, but, they didn't. Well, and what was really odd to me is the one the staff took, so the same time, the 14th and then the 15th, those were basically, they took their sample, we took a sample at the same time, and ours came back at 4.5. So, and then it's been consistent more close to that 4.5 than it was to the 14.
Is it possible they somehow contaminated their sample?
Possible, yep. I mean, the lab could have contaminated it too, I don't know, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But we'll try to get a few more yet before, either the staff can do it and send it to Trout, we can test it in-house too. We're gonna try to do one full battery again, similar to what Trout did the first time, but through a different laboratory, just to see if the numbers are roughly in the same. So we're still trying to get pricing on that one, so I'll try to get that done here sooner than later.
So we're not relying on one test or set of tests. We
Nope.
want to exhaust it because we own the land, we need the water.
Yep.
It could be a good spot. So along with that, all the design work, Jacob and his team have been working on what that would look like from a development standpoint. If we were to develop that into residential housing or whatever. So we're using that as the landscape or the canvas that we would work on as well. So if we were to go into this, where would we put those trunk lines, how would we draw that water to a well house or a treatment facility? And it wouldn't disturb, any of the development of the land. So we'd use as little of a footprint as we could, and then get there first before anything gets developed. So if anybody starts talking about it, this was here
Put their
before.
roads where they need to.
Exactly. We can build the roads, we can build the collectors. There's two, if you go back to that first slide, Chris.
You want the 212 one?
Yep.
Oops. There we go.
So the collector that we would look at, the natural collector would come here, and then this road would go up to here to feed that, and you could develop in here, but you'd also have, so we bring this traffic around and then bring it out here. So anything that we're doing over here, you can bring a trunk line in this way, or you can follow down and bring in here, so you keep your corridors pretty tight as far as what we're looking at. We don't know what this is private land yet. Don't know if that would ever, anything would happen. We'd also start conversations that, talking with SEH, we would probably forego farming this coming year, just to say, let's just leave it idle and not do anything with that. It's about $5,000, $5,200, I think is our farm lease on that. So it's not like it's a huge money maker for us, but we don't know exactly what he's putting on the ground either. So if we can just eliminate that, it's to our benefit to just let it go in that regard. We're tucked far enough away in the woods that we're not disturbing anybody, so it's not an eyesore for anybody else. Worst case, we can knock it down or mow it down if we had to as well. So the flip side, you come down, this takes us down County Road 24, heads out in this area. We've got 7 and 8. We do have the water line that comes in and ties to our water line system. Once this gets up and established, this gets us out of a water deficit position if we can make this thing work out. So at a minimum, 9 and 10 well house, get it in there. Elevated storage would be next on the plan, and then treatment as well. And you could bring a water main up. We would just basically disconnect that from our service lines and bring it into the treatment plant. So that water line right now would turn into a draw line into the treatment plant, so we could treat 7 and 8.
Raw water line in.
So again, going into this, the conversation is, people know that two major players have bought land in our community, right? They've historically been water users, and they know that we need water to get them started. So we've shared some of the stuff that we're talking about, and they are looking to come to the table to help us out. So although could be some big numbers, they're looking at potentially sharing in 3/4 of that cost with us. So it's the time for us to try and get as much as we can and help the community out. They see that as a community play as well, so they are looking to help facilitate that. And we could have, we haven't been in a comfortable water spot. I was on council in 2002, and we were looking for water then, and we still haven't developed anything more since then. So this has been a lot of work since I've been a staff member for the last almost 6 years, looking to do that. So, but it helps us diversify. It gives us a better spot if we could close the system if we needed to. Get elevated storage, it could help with pressures over there. We're looking at the whole study. Do we bring a line across from the elevated storage over in Autumn Ridge? What are our best options? We're looking at the whole gamut on what we can do with that. And since it's kind of open land, the city already owns it. Let's get in front of it that way, and then you can develop around it, is the concept behind it.
Yeah, the one we have up there is our current, so firm capacity, they list on the bottom. This is from our water comp study. So if you took our highest producing well number 4 offline, your firm capacity is 1,050 gallons a minute. If we were to add the 2 wells and say they're 400 gallons a minute apiece, your firm capacity goes up to 1,850, so that's a much better place. So.
And getting those online, that brings us with no growth, I shouldn't say, where we're at right now, extrapolate, I think it was a 2.5% growth rate that we used on that same study, that we're trying to match up with what Jacob's doing from that standpoint. That I think this would get us out to 2035 or 2040?
2033.
Okay. On that, without 7 and 8. So if we bring 7 and 8 in, then we're in a positive position. We're also working on this side of town, but that's likely private, and it's something else, and we'd help facilitate that through easements and stuff. So other things working over there. But so kind of want to get this in front of you guys. We feel it's a pretty good plan to go forward. $118,000 is a good chunk of money. We do have reserves set up within the I'll call it our CIP for our water and sewer that we can draw from. If finance was here, they would corroborate that. Even if we have to develop this and we don't have that in play right away, we would like to see an agreement in place before we really start putting big dollars in effect. But even if we did this, we need to do this, we need to check this box. Either this is gonna work or it's not going to work. We can put an X in it, but they'll come back and replenish this or reimburse us for what we put up front. So.
Yeah, and it's really been, I mean, like you said, the process for looking for water was started long before I was working for the city of Becker, so.
We've been doing it for years.
So, I mean, we've checked a lot of places, we've drilled a lot of holes and things, and, you know, the current wells that we have on the interior of the city are very good wells. I mean, there's very little iron, the manganese is low, so they're really good. It just seems like as we stretch further out from the middle of that wheel, the water quality isn't quite as good, so, yeah, it's, hopefully the 9 and 10 are much more closer to our existing wells, which is encouraging. So it'd be a nice first step to get us, as a city as we are now, to get us beyond being a little short in the summertime essentially. So, yep.
Do we have any data from what the school put in with their well? Could we, that's not that far away, right?
Oh, on the hill, the bus garage?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know.
We did the test well in the 80 just north of that. And that one only ended up being, I think it was like 100 to 180 or 200 gallons a minute on that one. So for a municipal well, it was not as favorable.
I was thinking more of the nitrates, it would just give us another.
Oh,
We can get the pump data, you know, potentially, and get water, reach out to, who's their transportation guy? I always forget his name. Tom, thank you. And see if he's got that information, or work with Rick even, to see if they've got any information there.
yep. I'm trying to think if I have anything. I don't have it on my little cheat sheet here. I'm sure we might have some saved stuff from past things, so. I know they'll do some nitrate testing on the test well on the Hammer property too. That's kind of out that direction, so I should look that up.
I know we tested the Hubbard property, when we were looking at that, their nitrates were.
Pretty high.
One of them was 19 and one of them was 21,
Yep.
which is no go for. So, yeah. Anyway, we don't know the farming impact on that, but we thought better safe than sorry, so let's just, you know, it's not like we're getting a.
Well, then that's where the nitrates come from. Most of them,
Like
it's
it,
from
yes.
farmers.
Yep.
Right.
And we just don't know how long that would interact in that soil or the aquifer or anything, but.
Well,
it's
yeah,
not
but
gonna have to
the
blow
other
down.
thing is it could be from a farm 2 miles away.
Right.
Cause the water does flow underground.
Yep. So we don't know any of those things, but we'll just err on the side of, let's use common sense and say, yeah, if we're not putting anything right above us, maybe it's better, you know, right below us, but we don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But if you're comfortable with this, we'll come back. I just wanted, if there was any pitfalls, we just want to kind of view those tonight. Otherwise, we'll look to bring this back on the 4th then and look for permission to roll with this. Again, it's gonna be a cost that we're going to bear, but we will keep track of it and look to get
Now,
reimbursements.
are you gonna be doing more testing before we do this, or you?
Did they grab the sample?
Not yet, but we'll do, I mean,
MVR, is that MD?
MVTL.
MVTL,
Yep.
okay.
So they're the ones that are gonna do trying to get them to do the full. And then we will grab a couple more samples, just staff, test it in-house for nitrates. We don't have the reagents and things to do, iron and manganese, but then run that same, split the sample and run it up to Trout too, and have them test for iron, manganese, and nitrates. So try to get at least, I don't know, at least 2 more for sure.
And the water treatment plant is part of this study, right? So we're looking at that. Obviously, that's a big dollar ticket to it. I mean, we're guesstimating $13 to $15 million, you know, and what you could treat for, so even these wells could be treated at that plant. They would just have to bring the plant on sooner rather than later. You know, our hope is that we can buy 2 to 3 years with 9 and 10 the way they are, use it in a well house portion of a water treatment plant, and then build out the plant for 7 and 8 as your consumption goes higher and other things start to develop, and the need for water continues to grow.
That plant would be able to treat for most everything.
Part of the study that we're looking at, you know,
Yep.
that's, you know, what's out there. We're gonna, if it's never been existent in our area, we wouldn't look to treat it. But the philosophy that we're running from is MDH probably isn't going to soften standards. Yeah, they're gonna crank them up, right? So we'll just have to look at that and see where it's at, so.
On your old school treatment for iron and manganese removal is a sand filter generally. So, but the sand filter doesn't necessarily take nitrates out. So if you have both animals, then you gotta figure out what's the best way to tackle both together. So that's part of why we wanna get more data points to see what do we really need to test or remove if we need to, and then what's the best way to do it, because, yeah, if you build an iron manganese removal plant, but you have a problem with nitrates, well, that's not good, so, yeah.
Phil, you said you have developers looking at that 212?
As we work with Jay, we've created a high-level concept of what this could look like, because we don't, as staff, we're looking at that because we don't believe there's gonna be a developer that's gonna come in and say, 212 acres, I'll buy it tomorrow. But we may have to kinda engage on that, so that's a whole different conversation that we're probably not really ready to have. But we would look to say, do we do something with the trunk roads that are in there? And then start to say, okay, there's 12 acres here or something like that, to start to parcel out. There is some interest, but not detailed. Jacob can probably speak closer to that. I think he said it's on.
Oh, okay. And then tap and then me. So we get a lot of inquiries about housing from different developers. I would say quite regularly. Sometimes they're just exploring their next project, or sometimes they're just looking at what to do. I think with the 212, we have had some interest. Where the wells end up, though, does shift things design-wise. So it kind of hinges on what happens here. Once that gets a little more solidified, then that conversation will bring a lot of that back in more detail to the council. But we do have a number of developers that do express interest in that property, so it is in its zone for that, and I think we have some good groundwork for it. But again, the design part kind of hinges on what the utilities end up being. So hope that helps.
Thank you.
Anything else for that?
Oh, I'm good with it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, roundtable? Becky, anything? Well, we did have the post office meeting, so Jacob was there. The person who was in charge of recommending site selection had been on the job for 2 weeks. I think it was a positive meeting, cause he said he had no idea that there had been a lease with Mr. Rademacher that had been marked up, redlined 3 times. He was unaware of that. Cause when he walked in, you could tell he was visibly like, what did I just walk into? Cause there was a lot of people there. So I tried to get him to sign the lease there, that didn't work. He goes, I don't know what I can do to make this right. I said, Grant can print it right now, do you wanna sign it? He goes, I don't have that authority, but he did tell me he could list it as the preferred,
Location.
so that would be a win, hopefully. Then the other thing is just, the Star Trib is covered a little bit on the data center. I didn't like the article or the title. I thought it was really misrepresenting what's trying to happen there, but Greg and I were there last week on Thursday in the House, and now we'll be there Thursday this week in the Senate, but for the sales tax exemption, so we've been getting a lot of information about it, so stay tuned on that.
All right.
Anybody have anything else? All right, we'll adjourn the executive session at 6:04.
Karen probably needs about 2 more minutes to warm up.
Oh, good idea.
I'm so sick of being cold.
Kind of ridiculous.